Is there a meaningful way of connecting people to their employers, and does it make workers better at their jobs? Well, the world was asking those questions during the pandemic, but LiveTiles, the workplace solutions and professional services company, has been answering them since 2014, the year when it was founded. LiveTiles produces thoughtfully designed software that changes the nature of work while unleashing the innate capabilities of every human. In other words, it uses technology to create a positive employee experience. Are you intrigued? Well, I know that I am. Paul Connolly is the Director of Global Communications at LiveTiles, and I'm delighted to say that he now joins me. It's very good to see you. Okay, can you resolve this? What is thoughtfully designed software, and how does it unleash the capabilities of every worker?
Well, essentially we're living in a world where our attention is under assault, and that battle for our attention is also in the workplace. So at a company like LiveTiles, we're a technology company, but we're a technology company that cares as much about people as technology. So we want to design and are designing solutions which understands the potential stress employees can be put under from being overwhelmed by too much information, too much useless information. So it's really about designing away the noise and personalizing the experience so that at the end of the day employees have the freedom to collaborate and to connect with really what matters and what really empowers them to do their jobs in a productive way.
And I remember as well, looking in the website, you actually said that this helps companies to really connect staff to the purpose, and certainly purpose is something which a lot of corporates are talking about now, to really understand the motivation to a business, how it links to the wider society.
Absolutely. Purpose is brand in many ways, and if you think in 2025, 75% of the workforce will be digital natives. This cohort of employees really cares about who they work for and why they get up in the morning. It's not any longer a transactional relationship with your employer. So purpose-driven organizations, the most human organizations, will be the ones that will win and will thrive in the new world of work.
Do you think that COVID-19 really drove home that message that the traditional relationship between the employer and the employee cannot survive, that it has to be different, it's got to be more human?
Without a doubt. COVID-19 pushed the culture, the very negative culture of presenteeism to bed. That culture, where you had to be in the office if you were seen to be working, that culture essentially was a form of monitoring. It implied a lack of trust in the employee. So when we were all working from home in this real-time experiment, shared experiment together, organizations had no choice but to make it work. And technology was a huge part of enabling that to work in terms of the digital platforms that were rolled out or that were opened up for that. But what was learned during that time is that actually productivity and performance surged ahead. Lots of things were learned. Leaders understood that in order for it to work well, in this hybrid world of work, they need to trust employees more, they need to empower them more. And employees, on the other hand, understood that their work needs to be really meaningful, that flexibility is extremely important for them in their whole work-life balance. So these two worlds are now coming together, and these two perspectives are coming together in a much more human-centered world of work, which I think is a very big positive that has come out of COVID.
But the key thing, though, is that you were ahead of the game, because you were asking these questions, as I said in the introduction, long before COVID forced us to not just ask them, but to find the answers. So you, in that sense, you did have the first advantage. So given that, tell me about the customer base that you appeal to. Do you find that people are coming to you from very specific sectors of the economy, or is it pretty diverse? It doesn't really matter what you do, as long as you share that vision about having a connected workforce, the doors are open to you, we can have a conversation.
Well, really, it is very diverse. I mean, we would have a very strong presence in financial services, healthcare, government, retail, sports and entertainment, many significant sectors. During COVID, particularly, that increased for frontline workers, because this was a huge opportunity to bring frontline workers into the organization. So a lot more in construction, for instance. But it really is a diverse and dynamic customer community. And that's something, I mean, particularly maybe not surprising today, because now that everybody really is in a situation where you have to make the flexible world of work for your organization, you have to thrive in this world, then you're going to need to have a digital platform in order to support and enable that.
What do you see as the advantages to the business of having such a diverse base rather than be restricted to a niche?
The main advantages would be, I guess, what we learn from the different cohorts of and sectors of organizations that we work with. We really see them quite often as partners, right? I mean, a lot of them would be coming in early on their journey, you know, before they may even have thought about the technology question, they're thinking about the people question. And this I personally find very exciting. It's what really drives me, these customer conversations. So we do a lot of co-creation with our customers. I was just with a group of customers, the communications leaders of customers, where we are co-creating with them analytics that will really lead to more human insights on the work rather than just productivity and KPIs. So we're always co-creating and learning from our customers. So that's what really makes it interesting.
Let's stay with that, because again, I want to bring you back to the website, because there is a testimonial from a CEO. They're anonymous, that's fair enough. And they turn to LiveTiles to, and I quote, increase collaboration and gain alignment between disparate business units, which I guess means, okay, there are so many different divisions within this business. We wanted them all to work together so that they weren't trapped in silos. So take us through it. How did you manage to align these different units so that it is one working whole?
Well, initially you work with the customer to really understand their specific challenges, the specific dynamic and culture in their organization. Culture has become something extremely tangible and important. It's not a nice to have discussion anymore. COVID has taught many leaders that it's actually a bottom line issue now. So you work through all of those issues. We have different values workshops and moments that matter workshops, and lots of listening with employees, lots of feedback and understanding really at a granular level, who are your employees and what are their needs and what are their frustrations. And then you basically unlock the different technology solutions that will address those very specific needs to your specific business case. In this particular example, the CEO in question, what he really got out of it was functionality like the multilingual functionality, because he had business units in Japan and Sweden, in America, for instance, so they can have social connection through chat, where you type in Japanese and you read it in Swedish, or you read it in English.
So nothing is lost in translation.
So it has brought them really cohesively together. But also on the employee branding side of it, that's possible to do now, to really, you know, reflect your external brand internally. So if you're talking about disparate units, that's really important. And as we mentioned earlier, you know, brand it's not just colours and logos and stuff. It is purpose. It is really what is that mission that joins people together.
Yeah, because it's not just obviously joining staff, but it's also knowing how to manage your content. And what is the common mistake that businesses make when it comes to content management? And how do you actually say, look, this is the way to do it without them feeling, well, you know what, we feel a bit like kids in school here?
The biggest mistake is thinking that what's important to management will be important to everybody else. This top-down pushing, you know, broadcasting to everyone through every channel, this is really a way to disengage, demotivate and alienate your employees. So where we're seeing all of the developments, and I think it's again a really positive development, and sometimes, you know, in recent conversations it would be even named as the number one priority that organizations want, and that's what would be called grassroots storytelling. So enabling, empowering, trusting your people to create content and share it internally. So a much more sort of authentic story being built up around your brand and around your purpose. Likewise, enabling employees to create communities of interest. You know, it could be yoga, it could be cooking, it could be hiking, but bringing people together with similar interests and really creating those communities internally. That's very possible to do at scale, not just in person, with through digital platforms.
And really important as well, because more of us have embraced hybrid working. For some people, that perhaps the roots were there pre-COVID, but certainly post-COVID, for more of us, it is that reality. So what advice would you give to an organisation that wants to increase its hybrid working model and at the same time make sure that that connectivity, this sense of community, isn't eroded because of geography?
Well, always look at it through the people and technology paradigm. Invest in your people first in terms of listening to them, understanding them. There is no silver bullet technology solution that you can pull off a shelf and say, right, we have a hybrid workforce now. Anybody that says there is being very disingenuous and, at worst, misleading. You've got to work with the two components together. It's a people, culture, technology interface, and that's where organizations really need to focus to get the two in balance and in sync.
Because there's always this danger that if you are hybrid working, there is a sense of isolation. Now that's fine if you like working by yourself, but you still have to be connected to the other points within that wheel.
Absolutely, and research shows people still want face-to-face. They maybe just want it differently than in the past. So it's not a case of just bringing people into the office and say, right, sit in the corner and keep working. But a lot of our customers would be even redesigning their office buildings purely as social spaces to bring people back together. And there are ways then as well to use technology to check in with people if they're feeling isolated. Those meetings don't always have to be about work. They can be about how are things going on in your life. Is your schedule flexible enough for you? Understanding the moments that matter for employees has become extremely important. Like post-COVID, that would have been when you got recruited, when you got onboarded, when you got trained, when you got promoted, when you left the company. Now it's much more the intangible and emotional ones. It's about the need to be with your children at certain times of the day. It's about the need to go to visit your elderly parents. Much more important things. So I think what we're seeing is that companies and particularly the leaders in companies are getting to know their employees on a much more human level and getting to know them more as people rather than just as a functional role.
Yeah, I'm the boss, this is the manager, and you're the worker. You talked there about some research that you referenced earlier. Let me look at some research which LiveTiles itself carried out, and it found that 45% of employees in the companies that it surveyed are actively seeking new jobs, which is obviously very worrying, particularly for businesses which are just coming out of COVID and they're trying to recapture their former status. So how does a good, solid digital infrastructure and the right approach to hybrid working banish the shadow of retention, not being able to retain your talent and having to start the whole process of finding new people, onboarding them, training them and bringing them up to scratch?
Well, you'll have heard of the Great Resignation, and that is a reality, and not just it came out of sort of US research, but it's absolutely a worldwide phenomenon. I think more correctly, it's probably an acceleration of a really great war that's going on for talent right now. And the key business bottom line issues that companies and organizations are concerned with is talent retention and talent attraction. So when you see figures like 45% are thinking of leaving and are actively looking for a job, that's extremely worrying if you're trying to run a business or a government agency or whatever. So that's when things like flexibility, that's absolutely not up for discussion anymore. That is now mainstreamed into job applications. I saw research that just came out today that in the last quarter, job descriptions offering flexibility have increased 15%. So that's in the last quarter since COVID, since everybody has theoretically gone
once
back to
upon a
the
time,
office.
flexibility
right?
was one of those dirty
Exactly.
words. You never
so
mentioned
it's going up
it.
and up and up, even sort of as we come out of COVID. So that issue of flexibility has to be hardwired into all employee experience. And really, just having an organisation that really knows its purpose and tries to empower its employees to connect to that purpose and reflect their own sense of identity and purpose through their work. We spend a third of our lives working. It doesn't need to be miserable or meaningless, right? If it can also reflect a sense of who we are as people, then you have a very powerful combination, and you have a very good system in place to increase your chances of talent retention.
And look, at the end of the day, cutting edge technology, I'm thinking specifically perhaps about AI. This is really important in terms of what you do to help create that thoughtful software. Where do you see the AI journey going? Because for some people the prognosis is pretty good, for some it's quite terrifying, the idea that AI will replace the worker. But whatever the direction, how do you see it impacting on Lifetiles?
Well, I see three particular areas in our world. Now, it could come up some very fantastical projections and forecasts, about holograms in the office or whatever. But I think one area which will be very important is the personalization of the employee experience right down to the granular level. So really knowing you as a person, your needs, your frustrations, your connections in the company, so that you really have a good and healthy employee experience. Now, for organizations with 300,000, 400,000 employees, that has to be an AI-driven solution. The second would be on mental health and well-being. I think AI, again, for organizations that have large cohorts of workers, AI can be really helpful to check in with people and to provide better insights to management on the different sentiment in the organization, and how they can really help their employees and their people to manage workloads that might be becoming stressful or creating some form of sort of negativity that could lead to people burning out or leaving the business. So I think AI can provide really good insights there and good prompts. Thirdly, I think we're still in an era where we have data and analytics and not enough insights. And there's a lot of work to be done yet to provide really good, deep, actionable insights to organizations and to leaders of organizations. And that would be, in the Lifetiles world, that would be the number one priority on our technology roadmap right now.
So this is what you have to do. So if you and I are here in 10 years' time talking about Lifetiles, what sort of company will we be discussing?
You'll be discussing a company that is recognized as a global leader in employee experience, because it's employee experience that really is at the heart of organizations that thrive. An organization that has really revolutionized how people interact with technology and how technology interacts with people. And an organization that has put the humanization of work and the humanization of technology at the core of our conversation around the future of work.
Okay, look, it sounds like a fascinating future. Good luck with that. I'm sure we will be talking about it, preferably before 10 years. Maybe next year, or is that too optimistic?
I think well before 10 years, yes.
Fantastic. Okay, let's go halfway. We'll split the difference and say 5.
5 years for sure.
Yeah, that sounds very reasonable. Paul Connolly, Director of Global Communications at LiveTiles, thank you so much for joining us, and good luck going forward.
Thank you, Juliette.